exactly how to break through into what God wanted me to do. I felt so insignificant because I really couldn't read or write. Couldn't pronounce words. Get jumbled up, they all seem the same. Trying to make sense of them and communicate something that's in your heart to people that can't get past the fact that you can't pronounce the word. So they can't hear what you're saying. And it was, God really had to make it known to me that many of the apostles were like that. They couldn't read or write. They weren't academically perfected. They were rejected by the academics of the church, by those in high theology, sent home to be blue-collar workers. Jesus found them in fishing boats, jobs as tax collectors, in just menial places where the world had presented them as not being good enough, as being sent home. But the thing that happened to me was I had a vision. I found myself standing before Jesus Christ. It just happened to me about 5 times in my life. And on this particular occasion, when I was floundering, the Lord looked at me and he says, I've appointed you to be my teacher. And I said, Lord, I can't teach, I can't even spell. I can't communicate. And he just stood there looking at me. And it was like a look of disappointment. And I said, what do you want me to teach? He says, the very thing that I asked you to do the first night you ever spoke. I want you to teach them to love me even as you love me. And it doesn't matter whether you're a prophet, a pastor, whatever you are, you're a teacher of love. But not love according to the world's standard and tainted by the world's standard. But love that's really trying to understand the other person. See where they're at. Understand them more than they understand themselves. To climb inside of them to really see what's causing them to malfunction. And help them function in the right dimension. That's what God does to us. He gets to the root of the problem and shows us something that we can't see. So we can be what he wants us to be. And what he's appointed us to be. But the world doesn't understand that love. Because Satan has been so clever in taking it and leaving a counterfeit that doesn't produce anything but trouble and strife. And it actually bruises and wounds real love. Because it doesn't look like love. It's like a false peace, an addiction called heroin. It just comes to destroy. You have this addiction for something that isn't really right. Most people consider love in the same dimension as sex. But if that were true and that was a high dimension of it, then Jesus Christ never loved anyone. And when you really look at love, you can't find anywhere in the New Testament where Jesus walked up to someone and told them that he loved them. He told us to love one another as he had loved us. Love shouldn't have to be told. It should be felt in the conviction of a person's life and their ability to lay down their life for someone else, preferring that other person even over the other person's views. Not letting them live below the standard of their calling. Encouraging them towards the call that God has for them and not the place that they're hiding. Ships shouldn't be hiding in harbours. They were meant for the sea. Harbour's a place where they come to get worked on and drop off their loads. But if they're not out in the sea, taken on, they were built for the sea. They were built for the storms. Love is built for the storms. Love doesn't back down. It pushes through. It goes all the way to the cross. goes all the way to winning till it sets the captive free. That's real love. It doesn't know how to retreat. It can't retreat. It won't retreat. It'll just keep pushing through. It'll just keep making a way. It'll just keep hammering at it. And that's what the Lord does to us. He just keeps turning up every morning, no matter if we insult him, we say, I'm not going, I'm not doing it. He just keeps coming back. And that's what he said to Samuel. Samuel said, I can't go down to Jesse's house. So he'll kill me. When you go, take a heifer with you. Just didn't hear it. Didn't enter into the conversation. Because he doesn't know that. He holds us with his love. He believes in us. He keeps changing us. Even though sometimes we want to kick the wall. He said, that's what Saul had. What made him pursue Saul out of all the people? What was the first thing he said to Saul? Why do you kick against the gods? Why do you fight against my life? Why do you see who I am through your eyes? You recognize me to be Lord. You called me Lord. Who are you, Lord? I am the one who you persecute. Isn't it amazing how our love can persecute somebody that really is trying to love us? That we're trying to get through to? Tonight I want to just shine a light on the enemy of love. The fly in the ointment. The thing that comes to steal real love. Because he hates it. He was once loved. He once felt the love of God. He once walked in the love of God. He hates it when he sees God loving us and us loving God. He would do anything, but he can't. Anything but humble himself. Anything but come as a servant to God and say, I'm sorry. He can't do it. Isn't it amazing that some people lose real love because the pride level in them is so high they can't humble themselves? They can't see what the other person is saying. They can only hear the sound of their own voice. And that's when love has been tainted. That's when love has been corrupted. When you feel that you're being attacked and you attack back. Rather than defending a principle, you're defending your opinion. So, your enemy has a name. To get a little bit of a look at him, let's go back and see him. And let's look at him in Ezekiel chapter 28. Because he hides in the unseen realm and works through an entity. He hides in an unseen world. And he always works through somebody else. And because we're so shallow-sighted, we don't see three-dimensionally. We just see the person and not the motivation behind the person. And yet the Bible tells us not to believe every spirit, but try the spirits to see whether it be God. But how do we look into the second dimension of what is behind that person? To see what is the motivation. So we find here, and we're going to have a look in this particular chapter of Ezekiel 28, where God is speaking to a man and then moves over and starts speaking to Satan himself. So here it says, the word of the Lord came to me, reading from verse 1 of Ezekiel 28. The word of the Lord came to me saying, Son of man, say to the prince of Tyre, thus says the Lord God, because your heart is lifted up, and you say, I am God, I sit in the seat of gods, in the midst of the seas, yet you are a man and not a God. Though you set your heart as the heart of God, behold, you are wiser than Daniel. There is no secret that can be hidden from you. With your wisdom and your understanding you have gained riches for yourself, and gathered gold and silver into your treasuries. By your great wisdom in trade you have increased your riches, and your heart is lifted up because of your riches. Therefore thus says the Lord God, because you have set your heart as the heart of a god, behold, therefore I will bring strangers against you, and they shall draw their swords against the beauty of your wisdom, and defile your splendor. They shall throw you down into a pit, and you shall die the death of the slain in the midst of the seas. Will you say before him who says, I am a god, but you shall be a man, and not a god, in the hand of him who slays you. You shall die the death of the uncircumcised, by the hand of aliens, for I have spoken it, says the Lord. Now that's pretty powerful. He's reading the riot act to a king. And this king had lost his identity of being this beautiful person that he was, and operating under this wonderful wisdom that he had. His wisdom had now become tainted. Something had got into this wonderful king. Something had got into this brilliant man and tainted him. And now has put God and him at odds. Isn't it a terrible thing that we start in the flesh, we start in the spirit and end in the flesh? Isn't it amazing that Saul started and the prophet said to him, when you were little in your own eyes, didn't the Lord give you everything? But now you've exalted yourself in your opinions. In other words, you're making yourself like a god. Some deity other than the deity you worshipped is taken over you, and now you're claiming equality. A terrible thing when we forget who we're serving and then we fight for equality in servanthood. Then you're no longer a servant. If you're fighting for equality, then you've given up the position of servant, because now you think of yourself more highly than you ought. You started off as a servant, to serve and to love. But the moment you start arguing and start fighting back and doing these things and warring outside of vision and purpose and morality and integrity, just to get your opinion across, something else has you. You've now become a captive, and what was so beautiful about you is being tainted. So he talks to him and he explains that to him, but now listen to what he does. He now starts to speak to the real force. Moreover, the word of the Lord came to me, saying, Son of man, take up a lamentation for the king of Tyre, and say to him, Thus says the Lord God, you were the seal of perfection, full of wisdom, perfect in beauty. You were in Eden, the garden of God. Every precious stone was your covering. The sardius, the topaz, the diamond, the beryl, the onyx, the jasper, the sapphire, the turquoise, the emerald. With gold, the workmanship of the timbrels and pipes was prepared for you on the day you would create. Then he goes even further and deeper. He goes, you were the anointed cherub who covers. I established you. You were on the holy mountain of God. You walked back and forth in the midst of the fiery stones. You were perfect in your ways from the day you were created, till iniquity was found in you. By the abundance of your trading, you became filled with violence within and sin. Therefore I cast you as a profane thing out of the mountain of God, and I destroyed you, O covering cherub, from the midst of the fiery stones. So here he looks at the king of Tyre, and he takes him all the way back to Adam, when he was first created, and told him how Adam walked in the Garden of Eden. How everything was there. How he had everything he ever wanted. And then he goes deeper. He starts addressing the covering cherubim, Satan behind Adam, who tainted Adam, who lost everything. And he's saying this is just a reproduction. This is just, again, the same old of a tainting of something that got close to me. Something that I walked with and talked with in the coolness of the day. And that intimacy has been tainted by an unseen force that has snuck in by corruption and craftiness, through flatteries, by exalting your opinion, and defiled our relationship, and defiled the intimacy that we have. You know, the sad thing is, if you look back over every major denomination, whether it's William Booth, Charles Finney, Martin Luther, Wesley, do you know that they all persecuted the move that came after them? Because they couldn't see that God would use anyone else other than them. Yet when they were humble, searching for truth, God talked to them face to face. But when they became exalted because of the things that they found and the riches of the treasures that they spoke with and the intimacy of their knowledge, they then started to persecute the very next move of God because they'd become corrupt. It's the same old. But you try and get that through to somebody that started to be connected and starting to be tainted. Most persons can look at a bottle of milk and see the expiry date, but they can't see the expiry date in their own life. They can look at a thing of yogurt and see the expiry date or whatever, not realizing that they can be spoiled, that they need to be protected and they need to guard their spirit with all diligence. Because there's something that's trying to hurt God. There's something that's lashing back at God, trying to defile the very things that God loves. And the only way that he can hurt God is to hurt the things that God loves. But yet, in their wisdom, they're only two-dimensional, and it produces pride, not humility. That they don't sit and take counsel. They don't climb into someone else's head and look through their eyes and see what they're seeing. They just see people through their own eyes. Because their wisdom has become corrupted. It's not the wisdom of God. It's not looking through the eyes of God. It's not looking towards the vision of God. And when push comes to shove, they will cower at the knees when pressure hits. Because it takes love to put steel in your backbone. It takes raw love that will cause you to lay down your life, to suck up the pain, to go through the journey, to complete the course, to run the race. It doesn't cause you to be weary, it doesn't cause you to become offended, it causes you to get over it, to get into it. This force, this power, let's have another bit of a look at him when we see him and we get a look at him in Isaiah chapter 14, verse 12 to 15. How you were fallen from heaven, O Lucifer, son of the morning. How you were cut down to the ground, you who have weakened the nations. For you have said in your heart, I will ascend into the heaven. I will exalt my throne above the stars of God. I also will sit on the mount of the congregation on the farthest side of the north. I will ascend above the heights of the clouds. I will be like the Most High. Yet you shall be brought down to Sheol, to its lowest depths of the pits. It's always about taking the upper hand, having the last say. Your opinion. Yet God, in all his wisdom, perseveres with us. Extends us grace. Backs down, comes back around, reasons with us until that day where he says, my spirit will not strive with man forever. I've tried every way to change you. Now I'll let you go. The Bible says it's a terrible thing to fall into the hands of the living God when you've pushed his grace to the limit. When you've shown him beyond a shadow of doubt you won't change, that you choose Satan over him because you've made a friend of this thing that exalts your feeling and your opinion and your voice at the cost of everything you dearly loved. We have to be able to nail this thing. We've got to be able to move very quickly and even at the sight of his shadow hit him. Do you know, I had a dream not long ago, and when we were training, you had to go through training courses and things would pop up and you'd hit. And if you were walking through an area where you didn't want to shoot the person that was with you, you wanted to shoot the opposite person. And so we'd go out and we'd train in different training sessions. And many times we'd go out to the SAS force in Perth and use their training courses and things like that. And so you'd be moving through and someone would move and just at the instinct, you haven't got time to process, is that a friend or an enemy? Instinct tells you. And you fire on instinct. Otherwise you're dead. You haven't got time to think, is that good or is that bad? Your instinct has to tell you. And so you go through it, and you go through it, and you go through it, until your instinct comes out 100% on the course. You haven't got time to process it. You've got to learn to listen to your spirit. You've got to let your spirit lead you. Because your spirit knows. Your spirit is fellowshipping with God. Your spirit will never lie to you. And so in this dream, I was walking along with my Bible. And it's a funny thing, a door would open, I go bang the Bible. And I hit this one, bang the Bible. And this is the gospel on the truth. I woke up and I thought, what in the world was that all about? And the Lord said to me, you're going to be moving so quick. Your discernment has to be as sharp as a razor. He said, you're not going to have time to process it. You haven't got time. If you want to go where I want to take you, you've got to make an instant decision. And that has to be the decision of your heart. You haven't got time to second guess it. And that's pretty powerful. If you want to go where God wants you to be. As Angela said when she was up, you make hundreds of decisions every day. You've got to make them out of love. First, you've got to perfect love. As God sees love, not as man sees love, not as tainted love or toxic love. Love never hurts. Love heals. Rejection hurts. Arguments hurt. Betrayal hurts. Love heals. If you're in that and you're caught in that and you're getting hurt, you're not in love. You're looking for something, and the thing that you're looking for is control. Because love rests, it feels secure. It'll move into patience. It sees vision. Knows why it's here. Knows what it's looking for. It can tell you. It's not something that's looking for a hiding place. It's something that's looking for a mission. Because love is raw energy. It can't be imprisoned. It can't be tied up. It's got to get out there and conquer. It's got to get out there and embrace. It's got to find someone to love. Someone to rescue. Put itself bold in the face of the enemy. Because love is willing to lay down its life. Love is willing to go all the way. You hear me? It's looking to protect, not to be protected. It sees itself as to protect. When we have a look at this, we see in Matthew chapter 16, 21 to 23. For that time Jesus began to show his disciples that he must go to Jerusalem and suffer many things from the elders and the chief priests and the scribes, and be killed and be raised the third day. Then Peter took him aside and began to rebuke him, saying, Far be it from you, Lord, this shall not happen to you. But he turned and he said to Peter, get behind me, Satan, for you are an offense to me. For you are not mindful of the things of God, but of the things of man. So here, wouldn't you think that here he is talking about being crucified and being killed. And Peter's come and said, don't you talk like that. That won't happen to you. Not while I love you. Not while I'm with you. That's not going to take place. And all of a sudden, this love, you'd think that's wonderful. Look, he's willing to lay down his life for me. He's willing to protect me. But Jesus said, get behind me, Satan. He went straight for the jugular. He saw that Peter was being motivated in the wrong way. When the woman that else was there heard what he was saying, went and got her beautiful perfume, her investment, her whole life, the essence of her life in what was she's saving up for her retirement, heard what he was saying, that he was going to die for her, and she came and she poured it on his head and his feet and washed him with her tears and dried him with her hair. And they were indignant because they didn't recognize love. Actually, they didn't recognize love with her loving. They didn't recognize love when love was going to the cross for them. They became so offended with love, they nailed love to the cross because they were so blind to real love. Very powerful, isn't it? Think about that your mind can be so twisted that one sees it and one doesn't. One understands the sacrifice, is so appreciative to the sacrifice, comes to give on, and then is ridiculed by the others that think they love him. Well, this money could have been sold. We love the poor. We could have bought some food. We could have done this with it. We could have done that with it. And they felt that they were thinking in love. And Jesus said, you leave her alone. What she will do will be spoken about in all generations. She's preparing me for my burial. All you want to do is fight with me. Not hear what I'm saying. You just want to hear what you want to hear. Paul had the same trouble. He was walking along. He had an appointment to go to prison. And he knew that God wanted him in prison. And so everywhere that he went, the prophetic of the church discerned. And so they used the truth and came to him and said, if you go down the road, they're going to beat you, they're going to tie you, they're going to whip you, they're going to throw you in prison. Paul, don't go down there. Paul sidestepped them. He didn't want to get into an argument with them. He said, I'll head for Philip's house. At least I'll get a little bit of peace there. At least Philip knows and understands. He gets to Philip's house, and next minute, his daughters start prophesying over him. Something's coming through his daughter, all to try and stop the New Testament from being written. What we call the prophetic letters of Paul that make up a great dimension of our New Testament. And God needed him in a place where he was limited and he had to do what he wanted him to do. Where there was such a pull-out in the real world. Because he couldn't function in that world because people were too selfish. And so then they went and got a prophet. And they brought the prophet back. The prophet didn't really enter into it. He said, I'm going to just tell the truth. He who owns this belt, you're going to go down there, you're going to get rid of that. And in the end, Paul stood up and said, enough! I'm not prepared to just go down there. He said, I'm prepared to go down there and die. He said, why are you doing me like this? Why can't you encourage me? Why can't you help me? Why are you going to be Peter? Can't you be the woman? Help prepare me for my journey? He said, I know what I've got to suffer for his name's sake. I know what I'm prepared to do. I'm not kicking. You see me punch. You think that I can't see into the Spirit? You think that I'm blind? You think that I'm a day, a dollar short and a day late in everything I do? Have you exalted yourself that far above me? You think you've got to be my protector? Tainted love. Love that something has filtered into it, spoiled it overnight. Sneaking in from the unseen realm. Come on now. You think this is getting too deep? Huh? Think it's getting too deep? Can you hang on a bit longer? It gets better. We've hit the bottom. We're starting to come up. But you're understanding what I'm saying? See, the Bible says, guard your spirit. What are you guarding your spirit from? Why are you so open to the truth and so close to the truth and so open to the flatterer? And yet the language of Satan is flattery. The language of God is praise. Why can't we tell the difference? Why are we so hungry for the substitute rather than to earn the real praise? To be achievers. To lay down our life, to finish what God sends us to do. To cap it and say, it's done, it's finished, it's over. What's next? Rather than have so many uncompleted journeys in our life. So many things that were started and never finished. That we've never rode to the end. Because something got in and backed us down. Something made us throw in the towel. But we didn't go through the hard times and push through the hard times. Get to the place where God said, I'm with you. I'll make a way for you. Hold on, Bob. And that looks like a wall in front of you. Run the wall destroyer. That looks like a sea in front of you. Oh boy, I can open that sea. Don't worry about that tyrant that's standing in front of you. I'll melt his heart. Just keep going. Put your foot to the floor. Don't be intimidated. Don't you stop at shadows. Ye that will walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff just protect me. After putting your hand to the plow, don't look back. Don't look to the left. Don't look right. Just put it to the floor and take it all the way. And know that I will remove every obstacle as you go through. You will level every mountain. You will raise every valley. And you will just push on through. Don't you be intimidated. For I, the Lord thy God, will help you. When do we get to that place where that type of love isn't intimidated by what we see or what we feel? Leaders only lead when the enemy's at the door and it's all over you, and that leader leads you through to the other side. That's when a leader is manifested. Not when there's an argument at the board table. When all hell is going around you, bullets are flying, guns are blazing. And you say, we can get out of here. We're not going to die here today. We're going through. When your whole life is under attack, your marriage, your children, your business, your church, everything is going down and you don't know where it's coming from. It's exploding so badly around you in the unseen realm. Your brain wants to snap. You want to give up. If you could go into a dark room and shoot yourself, you would, but you can't because for some reason you've got to be here. To lead. There's fire in your eyes, thunder in your voice. Take a stand and feel that steel in your backbone and say, no, the line's going. I'm coming through today, man, and I'm coming through hard. You're in my way. I'm going to hit you like a freight train. We're going through. And let the authority of heaven itself stir the very depths of your being, and you look eyeball to that thing and say, not today. Not today! That's the only way that you're going to stimulate and stir up the violence inside of you that will take heaven by force. So, your enemy has a name. And he's come to intimidate you, and he's come to tempt you. But in the raw relationship of God and man, If God be for you, who can be against you? If you know that God is for you, who can defeat you? Who can lay waste to you? If God is for you, it doesn't matter if you're a pretty boy. It doesn't matter if your hair's a little bit messy. It doesn't matter what you really look like in the natural. Because Satan ain't looking at your body. He's looking at your heart. He's looking at what's in there. How tough is this one? Can I back him down? Can I back her down? And I cause her to run. Will they stand up on the inside and fight me? Or will they become my slave? Will I lead them into bondage, into fear and anxiety? Will I lead them into deferment, betrayal, and divorce? Will I lead them, or will they come against me? Do they know that their God is for them? Are they going to bring him to the battle, or are they going to turn up themselves? Let's just push them a little bit harder and see what they're made of. See how they react. See what the recoil is. Oh, he knows when he's got one on hand and he's off. He's out of there. Got the big boy with him. She's got the big guy with her. She's calling on heaven. She's calling on the greater one that's within. Very powerful. Amen? Amen. And so Peter was a loving man. Went on to do great things for God. But there was a time in his life he had to sort out between what was right and what was wrong. What to stand for and what not to stand for. Paul had to put him into line. When he stood against the Gentiles in favor of the Jews. God's looking for the same love that he had that took him to the cross. That will take you all the way to victory. That same love that held him on the cross, nails didn't hold him on the cross. The same love will hold you at the cross where your will and God's will cross over. When you're going to make a decision, love better be there to answer the door. Because you're going to love something enough to lay down your life for it.